Hey y'all, my name is Adina Barnett Miller, but I'm known to my students as Mrs. B. I've been passionate about West Virginia history for as long as I can remember, but my mom would tell you it all started when I was 3 years old and she bought me a West Virginia counties puzzle at Gino's Pizza. I've taught history in Ripley, West Virginia for over 20 years now, and I'm an adjunct professor who teaches college West Virginia history to high school students. Please join me for West Virginia History with Mrs. B, a field trip across the Mountain State to walk in the footsteps of those who came before us. Hey y'all, it's West Virginia History with Mrs. B, and today we are in Webster County, and we are in its county seat, which is Webster Springs. And so we are on the Courthouse Square here in Webster Springs, and so I want to share the West Virginia road marker that has to do with that sign. It says Webster Springs was originally known as Fort Lick for the sulfur springs, which were here, and it was known all that way back in the Revolution. And the water here attracted, as it says, herds of game. It's not going to be until 1860 that Webster County becomes a county, and it will be the last county to become part of this region, which will become West Virginia before the Civil War. So 1860, the Civil War starts in 1861. And so Webster Springs was a very important health resort after the Civil War, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The town does get the name of Addison for Addison McLaughlin, who owned this property, but when they set up the post office, they're going to name it Webster Springs instead of Addison or the Addison Addition. So we're going to take you on a tour today of Webster Springs to see the town, to see the history, to see where we are, and to learn way more about a part of West Virginia that people might not know about. So we are in the Webster County Court Square, and they have a fantastic sign to explain what the heck we're looking at up here. So this original main structure, the beautiful one right here in front of us, this was built in 1895. Then that middle structure was built in 1939. And then that separate structure, which is the sheriff's office and the jail, was built in 1902. So as we talked about, the first community known as Webster Springs has been here since 1852, when the first postmaster was appointed to Fort Lick, and the town was then named. And then it became the county seat when Addison McLaughlin donated land for the courthouse. And so the first courthouse was a wooden frame structure that was built right at the end of the Civil War in 1865-66, because this county becomes a county in 1860. And it says this building burned in 1888, and so in 1895 they built that, the first part of the courthouse. Then they built the sheriff's office, and then they connect the two with a renovation. And so we will also show you the sulfur well, which is right down there, and this was dedicated in 1937. And so this was actually dedicated by the U.S. Secretary of War because it was a Veterans Memorial. The Secretary of War came here to Webster Springs to dedicate it. And then right beside of it is the Veterans Memorial, which was built in 2001. And then over here, which you can see right over there, is this large block of coal that was put here by coal miners from Curtin, West Virginia, to honor the coal mining history here in Webster County. So we are located now at the Courthouse Square here in Webster Springs, and so Webster Springs gets its name for the post office anyway, from the fact that there were sulfur springs here in Webster Springs, and they were known to help treat illnesses. And so we are at the last of those wells for the sulfur springs, and this was built in the 1930s, 1937, as a Veterans Memorial. And so this is your only sources of getting that sulfur water today. They drilled a well 120 feet deep, and that's where the water for these sources come from. And so in 2001, Webster County is going to dedicate a new Veterans Memorial, and this is, I just think, spectacular. And so these are the names of the men and women from Webster County in all the wars who have dedicated their lives to our country. And so it's very reminiscent of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. But each of these names is a life that was lost in fighting for our country. And then you've got these gorgeous flags at the top as well. And you can see here on this plaque above, it says this is in honor and dedicated to the veterans of Webster County who served their country in war and peace. So this is a really cool place to visit. I'm really excited to take the time to stop and visit downtown Webster Springs because this is the most adorable town. So we should give a viewpoint of where we are. So we're up here on the hill at the courthouse, and so you can see some of the historic buildings here in town, including that First National Bank, which is now United Bank, and this bank was built in 1906. And so you can see, you know, we've got some lovely historic buildings that have had some love, you know, put into them so that they can still be used here. And then if you come around, are the steep stairs. But here are the stairs to the Webster County Courthouse. And of course, here is the Lumberjack. We're here a week before the West Virginia Wood Chopping Festival, and so the town is going to be bedecked in all kinds of, you know, lumberjack gear as people get ready for the Webster County Wood Chopping Festival. One more thing I want to show you on the courthouse lawn is this massive slab of coal. This was put here by coal miners from Webster County in 1930 to pay homage to Webster County's coal mining heritage, and so it's been here ever since. Coal miners from what is now the town of Curtin were the ones that cut this and moved it here and dedicated it to the coal miners of Webster County. So not only is Webster County going to have, you know, make money from the bath industry where people come and take the waters, but the majority of Webster County's wealth is going to come from the timber industry, and that timber industry really gets going after the Civil War era. So the heyday, the big heyday for Webster County, when this place was like a huge center of commerce, is going to be in that 1890 to 1920 time frame, where they're basically going to clear cut all of these mountains, all the trees off of them. They're gonna, and then we're talking about virgin timber, huge virgin timber. This place is gonna be bald. They're gonna cut all the trees down in Webster County and use them for building this country. So, you know, I always remind my students, you know, people, if you go back and read historical articles, people talk about how ugly West Virginia was, and it's hard to imagine looking at what we're looking at right now. I mean, I just feel like, you know, I could just start singing Almost Heaven, West Virginia, just looking out over this mountainside. But, you know, during the timber boom, during the coal boom, the environmental impact on this state, you know, it cannot be ignored. It was a major environmental impact. So as we mentioned earlier, Webster Springs really gets its start as a spa town when the Webster Springs Hotel will be built. And that is going to be built here by Johnson Camden. Yes, Camden, like as in Camden Avenue in Parkersburg, who had a big hand in the railroads. He also was involved in oil and gas. He also is going to be involved with the coal industry. He is going to build a hotel that has 265 rooms, and it was the second largest wooden structure in the entire state of West Virginia. It's going to have an electric power plant and the very first elevator, guest elevator, human elevator in West Virginia. And the person that Camden sells the hotel to is actually going to build a railroad to Webster Springs, so people aren't going to have to come over on horse or wagon anymore. They're going to be able to get here on the railroad. And unfortunately, the hotel is going to burn on July 20th, 1925, and it's not going to be rebuilt. So it was here on what they call Hotel Bottom where they built this. And so there is a motel here, but since the springs are plugged, you're not going to be able to come and have your spa treatments like you would if you were at, say, somewhere like the Greenbrier. Here's another sign about the hotel, and so you can see what this hotel looked like. It was massive, I mean, and fabulous. So it said, by the late 19th century, the visionaries had begun to see the potential of the natural beauty of Webster Springs and the therapeutic value of the salt sulfur waters. In 1897, a small hotel was built by Johnson Camden on the lower end of this bottom. He sold it to James McGraw, who built a railroad to Webster Springs and increased the hotel to the largest in West Virginia, even rivaling the Greenbrier. But of course, because this one was built out of wood and it burns, you know, it's not going to be here anymore. It says the hotel encompassed this entire bottom area. It boasted 176 guest rooms, a dining room that seated 200, a sun parlor, 4 general parlors, a writing room for the ladies, a ballroom, and more. And it was even steam heated and had the first passenger elevator in the state, and it even had its own electrical engineer. It says the exceptional quality of the mineral waters that flowed naturally from the springs gained a national reputation, and visitors visited to enjoy the cool, dry climate and this pristine land with its reviving waters. And unfortunately, on July 20th, 1925, the entire hotel burned down. You know, this is also the story of the homestead, which we've talked about earlier, that it burned down in 1901 and they rebuilt it. But here, they're not going to rebuild it. And they said that the glow of the fire was reported to be seen all the way from Elkins. So one of the springs was here now where we're standing, and that one has been plugged as well. So that's the history of Webster Springs. It's going to, you know, the resources are going to bring wealth, but also the water, which is a resource, is going to bring great wealth to this community, which has remained the county seat of Webster County to this day.
Can I just point out that we are in Webster Springs?
Yeah.
And we're surrounded by mountains.
We're surrounded by mountains.
And for this fire to be seen as far away as Elkins.
I know, isn't it crazy? Because
it had to be
the mountains
glowing.
Here at this point, that top point is almost 3,000 feet. And we're in the bottom. And so for them to be able to see the fire all the way to Elkins, which is that way, I mean, Elkins is what? At least an hour drive?
An hour by drive.
Or if not more from where we are right now. And it's over mountains because we're in the highlands. And to get to Webster Springs, either any of the 3 ways into this valley, you're coming switchbacks down the mountain. I mean,
very steep grades.
Very steep grades into this valley. This is not easy driving. Actually, some of the toughest roads that I know of outside of like Pocahontas County, really. And so the fact that they could see that fire all that way is crazy to me, because, you know, the mountain this way is over 3,000 feet. So it had to have been a massive fire, and I'm sure it was scary. I can't even imagine, Dave, of how scary it was to watch the hotel burn and hope and pray that like everybody got out okay. So this is no more, and they will not rebuild. Hey y'all, we are now going to take you on a drive through historic Webster Springs, West Virginia, so you can see the town for yourself. All right, here we go. We got a little bit of sprinkles, so stick with us. But we wanted you to be able to see the town, and there's the courthouse. It's so adorable. And then here's basically the main drag through town. These older buildings, as you can see. Oh, this place is super cute. You should stop there for sure. And there's the Custard Stand, which we will be going there later. But we're going to give you all there is in Webster Springs. So we are going over one of the bridges here. And I don't know if you can see or not, but the water
is raging today.
Yeah, raging, which we'll show you in a little bit and a little closer up. So, and we're going to take you and show you the park where the wood chopping festival is. And these cars are just coming right off the mountain onto this bridge right now. So that is 40 miles an hour, and it's hard to get to the top. Dave can tell you, right, Dave?
Yes.
It's quite the haul to get out of here.
And that's West Virginia Route 20 to Cowan. Oh,
there you
goodness,
go.
Look at that.
There you go. There's the river today. And so this is the park where the West Virginia Wood Chopping Festival will be next weekend. So we're going to show you that. And hopefully we will come back in the future and do a wood chopping festival video so you all can enjoy that. But we wanted to show you this whole setup, because this is a fabulous location.
And if you look at the Pardee and Curtin Pavilion there, where they are ready for it.
Look at that.
All those American flags and one lonely little Canadian flag.
Yeah, look at that. Like Southeastern United States World Championship Wood Chopping Pavilion. The best wood choppers in the world will be here in Webster Springs next weekend to participate in the wood chopping events. So this is something we have put on our calendar for the future, not for 2024, but it will be coming in the future, I promise. And here's some of the lovely volunteers who are working to get everything ready here in Webster Springs. I mean, it's just a little town. They got one grocery store, they got the Ace Hardware, there's, cute little small locally owned businesses here. Here's another of the festival stages, and then the pavilions where you can hang out. But this is, tradition here in Webster County. Since some of the biggest trees probably ever cut down in West Virginia history were in this region of the world. So we're going to keep going and show you a little bit more. There's not too much more of town, but we're going to show you the other end of town as you're headed on, is that 15?
Yeah, 15 headed towards Valley Head.
Yeah. And then, or towards Flatwoods. So, there's not too much more. We might want to drive back where the library and things are, so they can see that. But the wood chopper, look, there he is. He's there. He's waiting for people to come to town. So we're going to take you one of the side streets so you can see a little bit more of the town of Webster Springs. Again, this place, Addison Visitors Center, super adorable. You need to go in there and buy some stuff. The lady who owns it is fabulous. Here's the Webster Springs post office, which that's how Webster Springs got its name, is the post office changed the name from Addison to Webster Springs. And so these are some of the houses in the neighborhood here in Webster Springs. So I hope you enjoyed your little tour. I know it's short, but this is kind of a small town. It's just a little cute little small town here in the mountains. Woo! That's quite the bump, Dave. Are we gonna head on to the top and then come back down, you think?
Yeah.
Excuse me, guys. It's spring and the weather is...
Ooh, this is well worth it.
Oh, yeah. Totally worth coming to the top to see the house. And then there's the school. You can see down there. There's the school down in the bottom.
And that is Webster Springs Elementary, I think it is.
It used to be Webster Springs High School, I think.
Right. Because they consolidated the high school, and that's down in Upper Glade in another part of the county.
Yeah. Check that out. Is that not...
If they see me.
They do see you, and they stopped. But that house is spectacular. Oh my goodness. This is so cute up here. I love this one, the little cottage. And so we are going to head down one of these cookie streets because you're in the mountains. This is like being in Morgantown.
I'm getting some Bluefield vibes.
Yeah, there's so many, you know, towns in West Virginia. Oh, Grafton. It reminds me of Grafton too. But there's just so many little towns like this in West Virginia. There's the library. And so we are gonna pull back out of here and go and take you back to downtown. What a view, what a town. It's just so sweet and so cute. But it's definitely a trek to get here.
It is that for sure.
It is that for sure. There's no better way to end your day in Webster Springs than with a ice cream at the Custard Stand. The original Custard Stand here in Webster Springs. It has been here for decades and decades and decades. And I could talk a lot more about it, but my ice cream's starting to leak, so I'm going to go ahead and eat my ice cream. But thank you so much for joining us here in Webster County, West Virginia, with West Virginia with Mrs. B. West Virginia history with Mrs. B. Sorry, I'm thinking about this ice cream cone leaking on me. Thanks, y'all, for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to West Virginia History with Mrs. B on both Facebook and YouTube.